Hello YouTube, this is Necrofear331 with another video. This one is actually going to be something different that I wanted to try. Actually I had a friend's request. He is actually just starting to get into the game, and he was looking at prices, and he was really astounded by how expensive cards in this game were, considering the poor price support and the fact that it's a kid's game, and he was astounded by $100 cards, $200 cards, whatever, all that stuff. And he was previously a Magic player, and he still is a Magic player. But so, anyways, he was asking me if there were any kind of budget decks or whatever that he could look into, and he specifically likes Warriors, just like me actually. His main Magic deck was actually um, in Legacy was Knights, and he really liked Warriors, Warrior type decks, and whatever. And so I decided to make this video. This is actually very similar to the deck that I'm helping him build right now. It's actually one of my favorite decks as well. It's JunkDoppelBushi. It's one of the many immortal Bushi oriented deck. This one's focused mostly on synchro summoning, as well as the card Junk Synchron, which I'll show you shortly. I tried to keep the deck's budget under $60, so let me know if I actually accomplished that goal, because I actually don't know. There's certain cards that are in this deck. This is actually my more competitive version that are, I'm going to tell you now, they're a little more expensive. I think it's only actually 2 cards in here, but I'll mention the cards that I'm talking about and a decent, I guess, replacement for it. So, anyways, let's start things off. I'm going to start off with the extra deck, because I think this was the most challenging thing, because the only budget card staple that you can really put into the deck would be Star Striking. Star Striking actually doesn't fit very well in JunkDoppelBushi. I mean, I use it personally myself, but it's I don't know, it's hard to deal with sometimes because it doesn't interact properly with the deck. So, anyways, let's start off with this is the extra deck that I helped my friend create. First off, our Xyz monsters. First, we got Utopia Ray. Obviously, you'd want to get a hold of the ultra rare, since it's only like $4 or $5. Then we have Utopia, only about $3 or $4. And I guess the most expensive part of the deck, which can easily be replaced by another Utopia, is Blade Armor Ninja. It works really, really well in this deck. Actually, I really love it. It's a little more expensive. It's like $6, I think, but it's still fairly easy to get a hold of. And with the special edition coming out, you're going to be seeing tons of these floating around. So there's your Xyz monsters. As you'll see, there's only 3. Because there's not a whole lot of warrior Xyz monsters, and Illuminate I decided not to put in. Then we have our synchros. We'll start off with little 8s. We got our Junk Destroyer, 1 copy, not like $2 or $3 for this. Then we have 1 copy of Super Rare Colossal Fighter. I do have an ultimate, but didn't want to. It's in a different deck at the moment. So this is like $1 for the super. Then we have our little 7s. There's 1 card in here that's a little bit more expensive, but honestly you don't really need to run it. And that's this card, Driven Daredevil, came out. It's a secret rare in Order Chaos. I think it's like $7 or $8. Not too expensive, but I really like it. I like the fact. I mean, a lot of people say it's easy to get around, but the fact that your opponent has to waste a resource to get rid of this is pretty nice. It's a good stall if your opponent isn't ready for it, and I've actually won games because of it, just because of the fact that it let me set up my plays. So, yeah, pretty cool card, I think. Then, since this is a junk variant, I have a copy of Junk Berserker. The Ultra is only like $4, and as well as Junk Archer. I think this is around $5, if I'm not mistaken. Again, we're trying to stay budget here, so there's no Black Rose. Um, Normally I would have Black Rose. Instead of Black Rose, instead of Stardust, actually, as well as Scrap Dragon is not in here, because it's definitely not budget. We have a copy of, sorry, Seven Swords Warrior, as well as a copy of Lightning Warrior. Both of them are you could probably buy both of them for $5. Not very popularly used cards. And then for level 6s, we actually have two. Again, since it's a junk deck, you have access to Junk Gardener. This card's not very good. I normally have Brio, but Brio's not budget yet until that Hidden Arsenal Special Edition comes out. But so that's kind of the placeholder for it, but it's okay. Decent card. And then you have Gaia Knight Force of Earth. Beater, basically. And then you have your level 5s. Starting off with, you got your two Junk Warriors. This is kind of the boss of the deck. You use the Doppel tokens to pump him up real big. I've gotten him over 6,000 attack before. It's crazy. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool card. And last but not least, we have X-Saber Wayne. Not a good card, but budget and level 5. This would probably be a Catastor in reality. So yeah, that's the extra deck. I think I managed to keep the extra deck below $40, so that was pretty nice considering there are some cards that are actually $40 themselves, or more. I mean, that are used in extra decks. There's Zen Mine, Scrap Dragon, stuff like that. So I think we did pretty well on the extra deck, and again, the deck isn't amazing. It's not going to win you every tournament. It's certainly not competitive at a higher level than locals, but it's definitely a fun, just a fun locals deck, and he actually top forward with it, so pretty cool. Alright, and then we have monsters. Again, there's no monster in this main deck that's worth probably more than, I don't know, $5, maybe a little more. First off, we have two Kokimiru Bergsacks. I think these are $5, maybe a little bit more, but still fairly easy to get a hold of. Then we have two Armageddon Knights. These are probably $5 as well. And then we have two Necrogardenas. And then a Salvage Warrior. This gets you back your tuners, obviously, when it's tribute summon. So you can, when you summon Bushi, you sack it for this, get your Junk Synchron back, and then you could go for Colossal or your Junk Destroyer, or you could go for, if you bring back, well, I'll show you in a little bit, actually, some of the other things you can do with it. Then we have, since it's JunkDoppelBushi, we have 3 of our little Doppel Warriors. These create the little tokens. They work great with Junk Warrior, and they're just a really cool card. I really like this card. And then we have our 1 copy of Tech Gen Striker. This was 2 copies, but due to the new ban list, it's unfortunately now 1. Cyber Dragon like effect. It's a little 2-tuner. Pretty cool. It actually gives you access, if you're not a budget player, this gives you access to Notorious Synchros. If you're running any Earth, Kokimi or Bergzaks, obviously Earth. There's those other Warrior Earth monsters. Anyways, this card's just cool in general for Bushi decks. I like it. Then we have 3 Junk Synchrons. These are the commons. Haven't got Ultra playset yet. I have 1 coming. But anyways, then we have 2. Sorry about that. We got 2 Immortal Bushis. This card is kind of the, I don't know, the backbone of the deck. It's automatic plus every turn as long as you're meeting requirements, which is you can only have warriors in your graveyard and you can't control a monster. And they made a ruling when this card first was released that you cannot summon both of them simultaneously. So yeah, you can't dirk both of them onto the field for your graveyard every turn. That would be nice, but you can't do it. So, oh, and last but not least, we have basically the replacement of Tech Gen Striker is X-Saber Pashul. It's a Spirit Reaper-like effect where you take damage. Can help you in a bind, I guess, but Striker is much better in my opinion. Alright, then we have spells, and ironically, probably the most expensive card in the whole deck is this. Single copy of Tune. And of course it lets you search your junk synchron so you can do stuff. And then we got Staples, Heavy Storm Dark Hole, and Monster Reborn, and 2 MST. And then we have 2 Pod Duality. I think this isn't, I guess this card doesn't necessarily count as budget, but since it's in a tin, it's easy to have access to. I mean, it's pretty budget in my opinion. You know, everyone has them these days, so. Pod Duality, there's 2 of them in there. Then we got 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Solidarity. I just don't really like this card this format. It's still nice, but it clogs your hand way too much in my opinion. So, and then last but not least, we got Foolish Burial. This is the dump, you know, Bushi, Necro Gardener, Doppel Warrior into your graveyard. Lots of targets for that. And then for the trap lineup, again, this is mostly budget. There's 1 card that I have in here that I just use for competitive purposes, but I'll tell you some reasonable alternate options since it's a little more expensive. Alright, then we got 1 called Haunted. This is, you know, to get back whatever you want from your graveyard, and it also triggers Doppel Warrior, obviously. Torrential, Mirror Force, these are pretty much standard. Solemn Judgment, you know, it's a common. So. 2 Solemn Warning, you can obviously get them in the tins. This is the one that's not budget, and that's my 2 copies of Fiendish Chain. I've actually been running this card in JunkDoppelBushi for the entire format. Here's an easy replacement for you that I think gets the job done. Just pretend Fiendish Chain is, oh man, can't see that, the glare is so terrible. Okay, fine, it's Compulsory Evacuation Device. It'll save you $70. So just go with this, okay? It works fine. Or even bottom. You can even do bottomless raffle if you want. So, anyways, then we have. This isn't. I guess this is again not too budget, but we got 2D prisons. They're fairly easy to get. They're in Legendary Collection. They're as an ultra. They're also in the Raw Yellow Pack as an ultra, and they're in the starter deck. They've been reprinted quite a bit, so. And then last but not least, you want to protect all your shit. I don't like Starlight Road because if you negate with Stardust, you screwed over your whole deck because that Stardust doesn't come back. It's stuck in your graveyard and screws over Bushi and Solidarity and no win condition basically. So I'm using Huge Revolution is over. I know this card's not as popular as Starlight Road, but at least with the 2500 attack body is actually not worth it most of the time in this particular deck. So again, this deck was meant to be kind of budget for somebody who is just getting into the game. I don't recommend getting in this game at this point in time because it's retardedly expensive, but if you are, this is definitely a viable deck, especially if you like Warriors or whatever the case may be. Obviously there's other budget decks that are probably better than this one for the most part, but just wanted to show that, and yeah, so I don't know. I would like to see what everyone else's budget decks are, if they have them, you know, or if they have a budget deck, or if they have a deck that just happens to be budget, or if they're looking for some options, like they want to play a certain kind of deck and want to see like a build, because I do have a lot of cards set aside. I have about, I guess, 10 decks, and I have a ton of extra cards. I can actually probably build a decent budget deck if you ask me, and to get some ideas. I really like budget decks as well as lower tier and unexpected kind of decks. My favorite deck right now is Simorg Ninjas, and nobody runs that. Everyone runs the Chaos Dragon version, if they even run ninjas at all. So, you know, anyways, that's pretty much it for the video. Hope you like it. Hope you like the deck, and please comment, rate, and